Welcome to the Health and Wellness Show on your VOCM. Now, here's your host, Dr. Mike Wall.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Dr. Mike Wall. Today, we are going to talk about mountain biking. I've had a lot of friends that have mountain biked, and they've always encouraged me to take up the sport, but I didn't really know where to start. So I reached out to Adam Churchill. He's the vice president of the Avalon Mountain Bike Association, and he took me out to teach me everything I needed to learn to begin mountain biking and also gain a little bit of insights about the health benefits of this sport. Hey, man. How's it going?
Hey, Mike. How's it going, man?
Good, man. This is the bike, is it?
This is it, yeah.
Nice.
What we got for you for today?
What's this one called?
This one is the Niner Rip 9. This is my main steed.
I'm probably going to be awesome on this then.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You're not even going to feel the trail.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you got some safety gear for me, yeah?
Absolutely, yeah. I got a nice little helmet, got some gloves for you.
Cool. Let's get that going.
Awesome.
So, Adam, how long have you been mountain biking for?
So I've been mountain biking, I'd say, for the better part of 15-ish years now, yeah.
Yeah. And how'd you get into it?
Just like many other people, man, had a bike, two wheels and pedals, and a sense of adventure, and just looking for, something more than riding around on the city streets and that, and found a group of people who were out riding in the woods, building trails, and it just kind of grew from there. So I think you start to see a lot of young kids who are out there riding, and they're exploring, and they're trying to figure out where are these trails or those types of things, and it just naturally kind of grows as you keep doing it and keep exploring. Yeah,
it's all about the search, right?
Yeah,
right. I feel like mountain bike has taken off. How is mountain biking different than like other type of biking?
Well, it's really about the wilderness, the nature of the trail, the adrenaline, those types of things that mountain biking, I think, brings a little bit different than, say, road biking or triathlon. I mean, they each have their own aspects that are exciting and that draw people in, but really it's being out on that trail and being part of nature.
Right. I mean, even with mountain biking, though, I think there's different types. Like, isn't there like downhill, and then there's more like the fat biking? Like, what are the
Absolutely.
Things? Like?
Yeah. So what we're going to be doing today is mostly kind of a cross-country style trail, and it's relatively easy in terms of.
That's good.
It won't be too technical, too difficult, but it's got some moderate grades, a little bit of climbing, a little bit of descending, but nothing too aggressive.
Nice.
So downhill biking is certainly probably one of the more aggressive. Downhill and free ride, you need a lot of suspension, a lot of courage, and a lot of practice.
Yeah.
So that's a style that was really popular here for many years, but has kind of tailored back a little bit now to something more, which would be like all mountain enduro style. Right. And so it's again more like long epic rides, stuff that has again some good climbing, some really good descents. Still needs some good suspension, but the proper bike is really important for that type of ride.
Good. We're going to talk about gear and all that stuff too.
Absolutely.
But let's hit the trail.
All right. Awesome.
You got to probably learn some basics. Like, what are some simple rules to follow, like going up hills and down hills? Some of those things are probably pretty tough.
Yeah, absolutely. So it comes a lot with practice and experience, but body positioning is huge. So making sure that the bike is set up well is super important. So when you're out pedaling and certainly on features like climbs and those types of things, making sure that you have your seat height correct, so it's high enough that you get a good extension out of your legs, you get to get the most power out of your legs is really, really important. And then I guess opposite to that, when you're descending, things like dropping your seat down so that you have lots of room to move and stand up on the bike, and those types of things are really important. But mountain biking is as much about pedaling and powering your legs as it is about shifting your weight and body positioning and those types of things. So engaging your entire body, your core, upper body, your arms, back. A lot of pushing and pulling and all those types of things. So that kind of stuff comes with practice, comes with experience. But it's a really great way to get a full body workout. Other important things that you'll learn as you go is positioning of your feet and pedals, so that as you're pedaling, you're trying to avoid roots, rocks, those types of things. So knowing when to pedal or when to, I guess have your feet positioned more flat or plane so that you can kind of ride over those obstacles.
Right. I also noticed that, you're trying to keep your arms strong and your upper body strong while you're trying to keep your grip light.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is challenging.
Yeah,
right?
There's a balance of trying to keep, enough weight over the back so that there's traction on your rear wheel, but also, enough, again, weight or pressure on the front so that you're not pulling up or torquing so that you start to wheelie as you come. So there's, again, comes with a little bit of experience. Things like on climbs, you can kind of lean your body forward, but kind of keep yourself seated and weight back so that you keep that traction. And on descents, one of the main things that you learn fairly quickly is with that seat low is get kind of low and back. You want to keep your knees and arms bent so that you can absorb impacts and those types of things.
So if I was going to start out, or somebody's going to start out and they're going to get some gear, how much does it cost?
It can get quite costly, but it doesn't have to be. So there's options to start, and some great opportunities for entry-level riding. I would always recommend your local bike shops because these people are the most knowledgeable. They're the ones who have spent the hours on the bikes, wrenching over the bikes. They have the experience to know what you're looking for and what your style of riding, what the type of bike is that's best suited for you.
Right.
So definitely recommend checking out your local bike shops. There's a number of them here in St. John's and also in communities or towns, cities across the province. Mm-hmm. They're the experts.
Yeah.
That said, it can be quite costly, depending at the level at which you're looking to get into. But like I said before, it doesn't have to be. So if you're just looking for the basics, you're just starting out, you don't know if you're going to like it, you think you're just going to ride around the neighborhood, light trails, trailway, that type of thing, a department store bike might be a perfect option for you. It's a great cost-effective way to get into the sport. You just need to know that those bikes are generally at that price point not well suited or designed to for progression. So to allow you to progress if you're looking to ride something a little more challenging or getting to more aggressive style trails. So a good place to start. The other thing that you need to consider is the level of service that is available through department stores varies, and certainly is not at the level at which your local bike shop can provide.
Right.
So and in some cases it doesn't exist at all. So if you're not mechanically inclined, then certainly want to make that consider that in your decision making on where you purchase and where you want to build those relationships and those types of things.
Right. What about like used bikes and mountain bikes?
Yeah, absolutely. Used market is pretty hot right now. Lots of people, lots of people buying bikes, so that means lots of people selling bikes. And again, those people who kind of started out at one level and looking to progress. Used bikes are a great option, but you have to be cautious because it's like buying a used car. Sometimes you don't really know everything under the hood, or to the untrained eye it's hard to tell the exact condition of certain components and those types of things. So if you're buying used, it can actually be a little bit more expensive than what you're anticipating if you have to buy parts or pay for service and that type of stuff. So important to speak with a colleague, friend, or even your local bike shops on some advice and guidance on what to look for. But just be wary going in that it may cost a little bit more than what the initial, say, sticker price is.
Right. I guess when you think about it, though, if you are riding trails, you don't have to worry about a membership or anything else. There's not those recurring costs sometimes because once you buy the gear, you can pretty much take it, and there's no cost to go out for the day.
Absolutely. So there's a growing body of evidence around the importance of unstructured play, and kids just being able to kind of get out in nature, explore, have that sense of adventure, that independence. And mountain biking and cycling in general really offers that, and an opportunity for those who maybe don't have the means to buy all the gear to participate in organized sports parents, or if you're thinking about, the time commitment. Some families or individuals are challenged for, to participate in these things for the time commitment. You have working parents, people who are working shift work, or single parents, getting your children or getting to practice and the clinics and all those types of things can be challenging from both a cost and time perspective. So when you have unstructured sports such as cycling and mountain biking, it really at the end of the day can be quite a cost effective alternative. And also, a bike for most people is a mode of transportation, so there's the added benefit to that as well, right?
Right. I mean, there is some information saying that kids might be too structured these days in a lot of things, and having that play is big. I know when I was a kid, we played.
Absolutely.
We got into some structured sport in like junior high maybe, but before that it wasn't so much.
You got on your bike and went.
Yeah, right. And also for adults too, it's something we all know how to do. It's just like riding a bike.
Yeah.
And so for people that are trying to get physical activity, it can be difficult sometimes, and sometimes the physical gym environment isn't that inviting for folks, but bikes are familiar for them. So for adults, it's also, like for example, if you go out and you're biking, how many kilometers can you do in a day?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's pretty incredible to see some of the people around here. I mean, I think one of the longest rides I've seen in a day is 170 kilometers.
Right.
Now that's a pretty advanced rider, but I do rides everything from 2 to 3 kilometers when we're riding in trails. You get a lot of steep climbs and descents, so like the kilometers aren't necessarily as long, but the activity is intense. But you can really the options are endless. You can go from one end of town or across communities. There's people who can ride 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 kilometers in a matter of an hour or two.
Yeah.
Really good opportunities there for again, adventure and play and all that stuff.
And different styles of exercise. You get the long, steady, flat ones, and then you got those high intense ones. I remember the hardest hike of my life was like 2 kilometers long, I think, because I went up a mountain in South America and then down, and it was, on distance-wise, it was nothing, but the vertical hike was something else. All right, we're going to jump to a break, but I'm here with Adam Churchill. He's the Vice President of the Avalon Mountain Bike Association.
The Health and Wellness Show will be right back on your VOCM. Now back to Dr. Mike Wall. This is the Health and Wellness Show on your VOCM.
We were talking earlier about downhill bikes.
Yeah.
And when you have two things, so suspension is one thing, but also geometry. So when you're going downhill, you want to be sat far back over the back wheel a lot.
Okay, yeah.
Keep sense.
Right.
And the bikes are set up such that they handle going down really well.
Right.
That also means that they don't do so well climbing.
Oh, right. I guess all the suspension in the front is allowed to give you that sort of give, so your front wheel doesn't go head over to the front.
Exactly, yeah. And I really going to absorb big impacts. So you're coming off big drops or jumps, or even just like rolling big steep rocks and those types of things.
Yeah.
Makes a big difference there, right?
I got you. Why is the seat not padded at all?
That comes to you building the padding yourself.
Maybe I've been away from the gym a little too long. All right, Adam, this is a health and wellness show, so obviously health is a big aspect of this. What are some of the benefits people get from this?
So, I mean, to be completely honest, the health benefits are kind of secondary to me. Like it's the fun, the adrenaline, the challenge that really drives me out here. But the health benefits, you almost don't even notice that you're exercising.
Right.
And so you get great cardiovascular training. It's a full body workout. So a lot of people think that it's all in your legs, but really mountain biking, when you're navigating some of these rocky, rooty sections or off camber areas, it's all about your core and being able to kind of navigate the bike and navigate the trail and keep that balance in all different awkward positions.
There's definitely a lot of fine motor skills to keep that bike straight, especially when it's moving up and down over rocks and stuff.
Absolutely, yep.
Yeah.
And so you can almost tailor it. So sometimes I want to come out for a nice leisurely ride and I'll just keep my pace down, but other times I want to I'm using Strava, I want to go for one of those KOMs or...
What's KOM? Sorry.
King of the Mountain.
Oh.
Or QOM is Queen of the Mountain.
Because I saw that on your website. Like, there's like, everybody's loading their Strava, so like it's almost like you guys have these informal competitions going on, which has to be a huge driver for people to do better and actually get fitter.
Yeah, and even just for, like, as a driver for yourself, you know, like pushing yourself to do a little bit better, a little bit faster, and, you know, it's great for, it has little segments, and you can go up and you kind of repeat them, and, you know, it pushes you to be better and to, you know, get into better shape and improve your fitness.
So there's a lot of health benefits when it comes to mountain biking. The first one is that there's improved heart health. Regular exercise helps our cardiovascular system, but the British Medical Association studied over 10,000 people and showed that riding a bicycle for at least 20 miles per week lessened the risk of coronary heart disease by almost 50%. Another thing about mountain biking is that it's easy on the joints. There's not as much impact, especially if you're on a suspension bike like one of the mountain bikes I was on with Adam. Mountain biking's low impact. It means that it can put less stress on your joints, but also gives you the aerobic benefits of something like jogging, but without all that pressure on our knees and our back. There's other decreased risk of diseases too. It helps keep our immune system strong, and people that exercise and cycle for 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, take about half as many sick days off of work as compared to their sedentary counterpart. I was out in nature the whole time I was there, and I was really focused on what I was doing, so there's obviously a reduced stress and improved mood. Concentrating and being in nature allows you to forget some of the stresses of day-to-day life. The most interesting stat I found was that it may actually increase our brain power. There was researchers at Illinois University that found that 5% improvement in cardiorespiratory fitness from cycling led to an improvement of 15% on mental tests. That's due to brain-building cells in the hippocampus and the region of the brain responsible for memory. Apparently, it boosts blood flow and oxygen to the brain, which fires and regenerates these receptors, and it explains some of the health benefits that help ward off Alzheimer's. One other thing I can attest to is that it improves your balance and coordination. Mountain biking isn't super easy. You're going over rocks and tree stumps on some of the Newfoundland trails. It requires you to have pretty quick reaction, and these are using little muscles in our body called stabilizers that can help improve our core strength, but also the stability of our shoulders and our knees. It's a full body workout. My whole body was a little bit tired after going through that exercise with him. I had a great sleep that night, and you know what? I had a great time hanging out with Adam as well, and I think that's a huge draw to the sport of mountain biking here in Newfoundland. It's now an all year round type activity. So, you know, you got a fat bike here.
Yep.
And I know people are riding fat bikes all winter long in like places like Pippi Park and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
You know, so what's the difference between these bikes right here, like the fat bike that you can take in winter?
Yeah, so the main difference if you're looking at a regular mountain bike versus a fat bike is obviously the tire size. The frame components, those types of things are all a bit wider to accommodate, but more or less look very much like your standard mountain bike. Mm-hmm. And you can get them, you know, and like this, I'm riding fully rigid fat bike, but you can get them fully suspended as well.
Right.
Much more expensive, but certainly they can, you know, tackle basically any trail that, you know, any other mountain bike can.
Yeah, it looks like a tank.
Yeah, so the fat tires allow you to really float over snow, and you mentioned the winter biking. I just started this year. I've always been a snowboarder growing up, and you know, I enjoy the outdoors generally, but I wasn't sure about getting out in the wintertime on a bike.
There was a little bit of snow this year.
Oh my, a ton of snow. And so they're entirely volunteer-driven efforts to groom trails in these areas, and it is unreal. It's actually I consider it a gateway for most people. You know, a lot of people are actually starting with a fat bike in the wintertime and learning to love biking or mountain biking.
Well, I tell you, you know, you're going down these hills and there's roots and stuff like that. It'd be a little less intimidating to fall into the snow.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so I could see that. I can see the benefit of that. And it's also something to do in the wintertime here where, you know, like it's a bit of a hike to go to some of the other outdoor activities.
Yeah.
So it's right next door, just like the mountain biking trails in summer.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's just, before we start up again, let's talk about safety, because safety is obviously super important for people. If they're going to get out there, they got to make sure they're doing it properly. What are a few main safety rules people should keep in mind?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously a good helmet. It doesn't have to be, you know, top of the line or expensive, but a good helmet designed for mountain biking. And if you're going to be biking in the summertime, you want something with good ventilation. Other than that, good set of gloves. You know, it helps with your grip, but also if you fall off, then, you know, you're scuffing your hand, your palms, those types of things. And then commonly when you get into some of the more aggressive style riding, you know, people are wearing knee guards or shin pads. I normally would if I'm riding in a more aggressive trail. And then lastly, some good footwear. So you want a footwear that has good grip, that's going to really grip onto your pedals.
Yes.
And so that you're not slipping.
I've noticed that today. I've also heard hard toe shoes make a difference if you're hitting rocks. Is that true?
I've not worn hard toe shoes all biking.
We'll take that part out.
Yeah.
Take that part out. And what was it? And you must have to have good shoes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So something that has a good, grippy, flat sole, really, that grips onto your pedals. That's going to help you from slipping off and stay on when you're in some of the challenging terrain.
Okay, so you're going out for like a longer trail. It might be a little bit more remote. You might not have cell service. Like, would you bring some other gear with you for safety that way?
Yeah, definitely. So you want to be prepared. These days, you can get tools that actually will mount to or inside parts of your bike, so that you can ride around, not have to wear a pack. But if you're going for a longer ride, especially if you happen to be going by yourself, then having a good multi-tool that has some Allen keys would be important. A pump or a CO2 inflator to in case you get a flat, spare tube, that type of thing is really great, so that you don't get caught out. And if you do have a flat, then a really good thing to have is tire levers, something that can actually pry the tire off your rim.
That's right. Okay, good. That's important. The last thing is, you're going out, you're going to sweat. I'm sweating right now. It's been a lot. It's been hard. Yeah. What about nutrition?
Yeah, absolutely. So, lots of water. So again, you can have your hydration pack, or there's bottle mounts on your bike. So lots of water. Bring water with you. A good, healthy, well-balanced diet certainly helps, in any, I think, physical activity that you do. But if you load up on grease, you go for a feed of fish and chips before you head out, you're probably not going to feel the greatest.
Right, not exactly performance food.
No, absolutely. But after, when you finish up, so get some carbohydrates, some protein back into your body so that you recover well, and those types of things. But generally, like every other type of fitness, you want to have a good balanced diet to go with it.
And if you talk as much as we have been today, you should probably bring fly spray.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Let's keep on going.
The Health and Wellness Show will be right back on your VOCM. Now back to Dr. Mike Wall. This is the Health and Wellness Show on your VOCM.
So you are the vice president of the Avalon Mountain Biking Association. So tell me about that organization, what you guys are trying to do here.
Yeah, absolutely. The easiest way to explain it is we're an advocacy association. We're a registered not-for-profit. And what we're advocating for is trail infrastructure. Now, coming with that is just mountain biking in general, but trail infrastructure is really where we're lacking, but we have the most potential. So and one of those gaps really is for beginners, for a green trail, somewhere where people who can bring their children, or it's just starting out mountain biking, something that's fun and exciting. Just challenging enough, but is fun that it gets somebody hooked so they want to mountain bike more. Right now, these types of trails are really challenging to bring a new person out who maybe doesn't have the fitness level that's required, or doesn't have the balance and that kind of stuff. So you're hitting roots and rocks and all that, and it takes a lot of skill and a lot of training or a lot of practice to be good at that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it's almost like skiing in a lot of ways. Like there's the green hill and the blue and the black diamonds and all that.
Absolutely. So if I mean, a lot of ski hills now offer a downhill or a mountain bike option in the summertime, and you'll see the trails are marked very similar, using the same markings, so green, blue, and black, double black, and so on. So it's exactly the same.
Our mountain bike trails have to be unique to some places.
They're so common these days in jurisdictions and provinces around Canada, across the world. But I guess what we have so uniquely is that it's positioned right in the middle of a city. Basically, there's three main trail networks that we have here that I would say that are being maintained by crews or that people frequent, and you're minutes away from everything. So from your bike shops, from hotels, from restaurants, from breweries, cafes, all of that, right at the doorstep. And so we really have an opportunity, I think, to position that really well, similar that we've done with all of our other, great tourism products.
Yeah, and it's funny because that's how I almost got into mountain biking a bunch of times, because I'd be down in Kitty Vitty, and here come some people down for a post-ride beverage.
Yeah.
And talking about how awesome it was.
Absolutely.
And they're in their full gear, and they're just sitting down in one of the restaurants that are down there, and it's like so convenient. It just looks like a really relaxing kind of thing to do.
Absolutely. It's a lot about that. You're going out with your buddies, or building that camaraderie, and it's fantastic. But people are traveling. There's a lot of data on mountain bike travelers, people who travel for the purpose of mountain biking, but also people who now they see it as an activity or an excursion while they're out, while they're traveling. So you come to a location and you say, well, geez, is there a mountain bike? And you go, you rent, and then somebody takes you, and those types of things. So
yeah, that's a whole tourism opportunity, big time.
Absolutely.
And something we can do this summer, if there's not going to be much tourism here, then we can at least take part in ourselves, especially if we've got something like this right at our doorstep.
Absolutely.
To find out more about the infrastructure projects that's going on for mountain biking, I reached out to Mark Dobbin. He's a local business person who owns land in the area and is proposing a federal and provincial project, along with his land, to develop a mountain bike and hiking trail system that would help promote the sport internally, but also be a tourist draw for people visiting our province.
Welcome to the show, Mark.
Thank you very much. Good to be on.
Yeah, so why don't you walk us through some of the things you're hoping to do up in that area?
So a number of years ago, I became aware that there was a parcel of private land, a little over 46 acres, that was for sale up in East White Hills. And it's a very common walking area on the East Coast Trail, and it also has some lovely mountain biking trails. So kind of conceived a project. I've been working with the mountain bikers and talking to some others about getting the provincial government to contribute its land that it has up there, and it has a significant holding of land that's surplus. Mm-hmm. Likewise, to get the federal government to contribute its land, I would contribute the land that I acquired. We'd make it a wilderness park with also some mountain biking trails.
That'd be great. I've been to Whistler in the summertime now, and you see just how huge the sport is. Apparently it's bigger than snowboarding and skiing together up there, and I could see how that can make a difference. What are some of the things that you think would be a spin-off from that?
Well, I think it would be great for the local economy to make us a destination for mountain bikers. As you say, it's a very popular sport. They tend to spend a lot of money wherever they go, in restaurants and hotels and just shopping in general. So I think it would be another leg on the stool of the tourism industry here in Newfoundland and Labrador. It would also be a contributor to the wellness of the people of the province. So to be able to get out, it's a year-round sport. So having access to it right in the city center, essentially, I think is just a great all-around thing for the province.
I think that's true. You're right there. You can access the White Hills area very easily. I've seen the mountain bike trail that's currently been built there, and I think it's been built voluntarily by people. But you are right next to Katie Vitti. You're not far from downtown, especially on a bike, and so I could see how that could be a real driver for that. What would be some of the things that you would add up there? Would it just be trail system, or would it be more than that?
We'd want to keep it as pristine as possible. Obviously, the trails, you'd want to reinforce those and bring them up to they've been done very well, but they've been done on a shoestring budget, so they can be hardened and upgraded. You would need things like parking and signage, and you need to delineate the area where the mountain biking trails are from the more wilderness preserve. So those are the type of things I'd like to see done. Also, we do have the summer games coming to Newfoundland and Labrador, and mountain biking is a recognized sport, and we don't currently have a venue to host that. So I'm also hopeful that the city would look favorably on this area being upgraded and used for those purposes.
Yeah, so you a mountain biker yourself?
I'm actually not. I prefer hiking. I'm probably a little late in life to pick up a sport where there's a high level of skill for the type of trails up there. It's not a beginner's area, but no, I do hike the mountain bike trails as well.
That's great. Well, I know you're a big advocate for health. I know that's some of your personal interests and your business interests as well, and I think that's something that's much needed in the area. I actually went out with Adam Churchill from the Avalon Mountain Biking Association the other day, and he took me on what I think was probably a pretty easy trail, but I can concur that it is a very hard sport, and I can see that you need a lot lot of practice to get good at it. Yeah, but that might be something that we can offer the area. So that's great to hear about that type of project. I think that would be something that could really add to the sport around here. So what do you think the proposed timeline would be, and do you have like a name for the area?
Well, the working title for the area is Kitivili Wilderness Preserve,
Okay.
In terms of timelines, I'm ready to go immediately. Obviously, I'm a private citizen and can move quickly on these things. We were in discussions with the province. We were in discussions with low-level discussions. I don't want to overcharacterize it, with the federal government as well, and there's an inclination for them to move that way. There was a curveball thrown that is the preferred location for a new prison to replace the one on the lake. That seems to me not to be the highest and best use of that land, given its location and its current use.
Right. Thanks so much for filling us in on what your plans are up there, Mark. Look forward to hearing more as it develops.
You're very welcome. Quite happy to share the information. I think the more people that know and embrace this concept, the more likely it'll come to be a real project.
Well, thanks very much. Talk to you soon.
Okay, take care.
Okay, so we talked about mountain biking from a recreation standpoint and physical activity, but you can be competitive at it around here too, right?
Absolutely, yeah. There's been lots of opportunities for cycling competition in the province over the years, but mountain biking has really started to grow again with two main, series that happen right now, or were planned to happen, I suppose, prior to COVID-19 and everything else. But for kids of all ages, and adults for that matter, there's the St. John's Short Track Series, which is real simple, short distance and short time frame race that occurs over the span of 3 or 4 races, and it's done in age categories. And really, it's a lot of fun. You see kids going out with push bikes or balance bikes, and some with training wheels on. It's really incredible to see just the uptake. But it's a great way for people to kind of get into the competitive aspect of it. It's friendly competition. There's a barbecue at the end, all of that kind of stuff. So looking forward to that resuming. Hopefully, I think next year. I don't think it's going to go ahead this year. But competition there is great. Great way for people to get into it. Yeah. The next level is around here is the St. John's Enduro Series, and so that has been on the go for a number of years, but has really started to blossom again. Again, a lot of youth riders participating in it. It is more geared towards your experienced rider. So the enduro style riding is a lot more aggressive descents. I guess racing in general is typically geared towards more experience, but there usually is 1 or 2 races that are again easier in the Pippy Park 3 Ponds Barrens area, that there's not quite as much elevation, so it's not as aggressive as terrain. So it's a great way for people to kind of step in and try it out. But it's a ton of fun. You're more racing against yourself than anybody else, and again, just a good sense of camaraderie and people getting out and sharing their passion.
We'll be right back after this break.
The Health and Wellness Show will be right back on your VOCM. Now back to Dr. Mike Wall. This is the Health and Wellness Show on your VOCM.
So one of the things I'm really big on is getting out in nature. I think it's really good for our mental health. How do you find mountain biking sort of allows you to interact with nature?
Oh yeah, I mean it's probably one of the core aspects for me. It really it provides that opportunity to kind of just get away from the stress and all the challenges of everyday life, to kind of shut out work for a little while and to think about things a little bit differently. Just focus on what you have in front of you. And you almost get this instant reward when you're riding. You climb on some of these trails to the peak, and all of a sudden you've got this incredible coastal views and just breathtaking vistas overlooking over the ocean and a rugged coastline. Sometimes you see icebergs or whales in the distance. It's
right.
Just surreal.
Yeah.
You get that fresh clean air. So it's huge. I think it really is what, from a mental health aspect, is what kind of grounds me and recenters me after having, some stressful days at work or, time with family and that kind of thing.
And I think that, when you're doing it, you're looking at every stump and every rock and the next turn that's coming up. So, you're forced to be present, and sometimes that forced meditation is something that people need.
Absolutely.
So another thing is that if you're spending all this time in nature and you're developing these trails, is there an environmental impact from mountain biking?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a common question, I think, that we hear a lot. I think any large and reputable trail organization or association will tell you that the most important thing to any trail is building a sustainable trail. So regardless of the use, whether it's hikers, mountain bikers, or otherwise, having a sustainable trail is the key or the most important thing. So a lot of that here is certainly about controlling water and water flow, but having an established trail, a well-built, sustainable trail, is actually a great way to get people to engage with nature and to build an appreciation and strong trail or nature stewardship. So when people are out and we're on these trails, it's about preserving that environment. We're not interested in going out there and tearing up the land and plowing down trees. Really, it's really careful, thought out, and precise ways to build trails so that it has the least amount of impact on nature. Great organizations, and Parks Canada is one. They see the value in trails, and certainly in mountain biking trails. There's a lot of development that's happening in national parks around the country right now, specifically for mountain biking, and they know it's an ability to provide people with the opportunity to recreate, to have fun, but to appreciate and to enjoy nature. And I think the more people we have out there enjoying these trails, the better for us.
Yeah, and I think that sometimes you get people that spend time and do sports that are in nature, they tend to sometimes have the greatest respect for it. So I know the people that hike will pick up garbage, people that kayak will clean up beaches. I'm sure that's a core element to it, to respect that environment.
Absolutely. So when you're, anything you bring in, make sure you bring it out. It's no different than hiking or otherwise. Other than the trail, there should be no other evidence that you're really there. With our wet weather, it's hard sometimes. You see a lot of, footprints or tire tracks and those things where water tends to collect. But otherwise, you want to try and be as respectful of the natural environment as you can.
That's great. So I know that one of the mandates of your organization is to develop a formal trail infrastructure. What are the benefits of that?
Oh, they're so far-reaching, Mike. It's incredible. So in all aspects of things that we've discussed today, we're talking about trail infrastructure and environmental stewardship. Having the proper infrastructure really that meets the demand of the local community or of the population is so important for things like user conflicts. So you start pulling people away from trails that aren't really designed or built for cyclists or bikers, and you start putting them in places where they should be. So user conflict comes down. You stop road building and building of bad trails. People who want something fun and exciting to ride or explore, and think they're doing a good thing by building trails, but they don't know the proper practices. So
may not even be safe.
Absolutely, 100%. It comes with a lot of training, experience, and knowledge to build a well-built trail. That's an aspect of it. And then for me and for a lot of people, it's about, one of the most exciting things is getting new people into the sport. So, my kids, for example, or for friends who are just picking it up for the first time, having somewhere to bring them that is a properly designed trail that can still be fun and challenging at the same time, but not too difficult. It reduces barriers for people. It's less scary for some people to ride on properly built green trails.
Especially because they're ranked. Yeah,
exactly. So when they know they can ride something that's up to their skill level, it also has reduces the barriers from a cost perspective, because the equipment that's required to ride on some of our trails, it can be quite costly. But if you have the proper infrastructure, it really reduces that barrier. So kids and brand new green riders can get out there and start and explore. And you think about I think about my childhood, and I was certainly lucky to be able to have a bike bike as a kid, and I know many others are. But what happens generally? You stop riding, you give it up, and why is that? One, it's hard to kind of get around town, but we really don't have infrastructure or facilities for kids or for people to continue on. So you're not allowed on sidewalks. You're not allowed. You get yelled at, or you're not encouraged to ride in the streets, or it's scary to ride in the streets.
And dangerous.
Riding around on city paths, again, you get yelled at. You're not supposed to be there. Those types of things. So there's all these barriers that are put in place.
Here's an example. When I was a kid, skateboarding was considered the worst thing ever. You were a borderline criminal if you skateboarded. And then every single town and municipality has a skate park now.
Absolutely.
And what they do is they've got a place for the kids to go. So they aren't loitering, they aren't hanging around. They're safe. They're not building their own ramps out of nothing, hurting themselves when they shouldn't be.
Absolutely.
Or skating around in public things. So I think that's probably where you guys are with mountain biking right now.
Absolutely, yeah. We'd like to see a pump track and trail infrastructure, recognize mountain bike trail infrastructure in every community across this island, and I think that would be a gold standard for us.
Yeah, well, that's great. It sounds like you guys are well on your way here locally. All right, so now we've finished our ride, and I'm pretty much a pro mountain biker.
Absolutely.
What are some ways I can talk the talk? What are some terms people need to know if they're going to be mountain biking?
Well, you can always talk about like the gnarly trail if that's that's the kind of the common thing. But no, I mean when we're going out, you hear a lot of people talking about lines, so you're going to pick the right line, keeping your head up. When you're climbing, you talk about punchy climbs, those types of things. So you sound real smart if you're talking about, oh yeah, I got a punchy climb coming up, get a good pedal in. That kind of stuff.
It's got its own subculture. It's
Absolutely.
Just like everything. And I guess the best way to learn it and the best way to find out how to do it is by going with people that know.
Absolutely.
And earning your stripes like every other thing. And that's another thing that's important, I think, is etiquette. Because I could see how it could be really dangerous if somebody didn't know what they were doing and they were on a trail with advanced riders and somebody comes down fast and you're in the way. Like, what's some etiquette people should know?
Yeah, I mean, and certainly with all the activity that we've had on the trails lately, everybody getting outside, organized sports kind of come to a complete halt. There's a lot of traffic, and on our trails, there's a lot of hikers, dog walkers, all of that. I think it's being aware, being courteous, and being respectful.
Well, thanks so much for taking me out today. That was super fun.
My pleasure, Mike. It was absolutely excellent.
I'll give you a note tomorrow and tell you how sore my legs are.
No doubt.
Thanks again.
All right.
If you're interested in getting into the sport of mountain biking and finding out more about the local association, you can find the Avalon Mountain Bike Association on Instagram at the handle amba.nl. They also have a Facebook page and a website that you can Google. Really easy. One thing I'd encourage you to do is if you visit the website, there's a survey that asks certain questions about who's mountain biking, and this survey is being used to help develop trails that cater to the needs of the people that are actually using them. So please participate in that if you get a chance. I really want to thank Adam Churchill and Mark Dobbin for taking the time to talk to us today and teach us a little bit about this emerging sport here in Newfoundland. I hope you learned something new, and maybe I'll see you out in the trails. We'll catch you next time for the next episode of the Health and Wellness Show on your VOCM.